Doing well. We back again with another edition of Moorish World TV. Absolutely. So in a little bit, the sister gonna come through and bless her with her presence. But let's just talk a little bit. Let's just talk a little bit. Now listen, we're gonna have some haters. We have to understand, and I don't want to use the word hater as the conventional sense. We're gonna have some people that they just not gonna get with it. Listen. I explained this to quite a few people. If you came out, I'm gonna try not, yeah. If you came out of a paradigm, let's just keep it 100. If you came out of Christianity, or if you came out any type of institutional religion that you feel that may have pulled one over on you, or that may have oppressed you, and that may have oppressed your family and oppresses your people, and you feel as though that you overcame it and you came out of that. And right after that, you get into something that you think liberates you, i.e. more science, or what you think is more science, or what you think is Islamism, and you think that it liberates you. It makes you feel good. You know, I'm not a part of this system, so I have a right to travel. I don't have nothing to do with this system. I'm not a citizen, I'm a national. You know, and all of these things makes us feel good. I need to correct my status. You know, my status is under rule, is under the rule of the Roman government. Or the what they call it, I forget what they call it, you know, the business demonstration, the corporation. And I need to correct my status. You go through all that and you correct your status, and you go through all of these things. You buy all of this material about correcting status, about codes, about statutes, about law, being in law, being on law, being above law, being around law, and being an outlaw. All of this stuff you learn. Now, once you learn these things, here come Big Bad Tahaka Bay. Pause. Stop. That ain't what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught. I don't know where you get that from, but according to what I've studied, and according to what those that say they follow the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to the letter, they don't get the same message. Why is it that those that are in the temple don't get the same message that those get outside of the temple? Why is that? Why must we disagree and then want to go at each other next? A sister a few minutes ago just called me Tahaka Bay is Reverend Pork Chop. Black. I ain't got no problem, because she drank the Kool-Aid. She bought into the idea that some piece of paper is going to free her. Now, this is the odd part to me. I'm going to file all this paperwork. I'm going to correct my status. And then I'm going to turn it into the same people that has denied me status. How does that work? They denied me status, but I'm going to go and correct it with them. Now, and here I go. Say, hold up. We've been duped again. And you saying, nah, this is right. Show me where it's wrong. And now we got people defending it with no scholarship, no education, with curse words, calling people out of name. I've been an agent. Show me how I'm wrong. Sit down with your brother. Show me. Tell me why. They said my flags are wrong. Tell me how. Look at his flags. He's an agent. Show me how. So the point of the matter, we got to understand. Listen, a piece, my sister. Mute your mic.
Greetings.
Mute your mic for 1 second. I'm gonna bring everybody. I'm gonna bring everybody up to speed with you, sis. After I finish this thought real quick. So we have a misunderstanding of what a Moorish American Muslim is. We have a total misunderstanding. And again, how is it that those outside the temple set the tone as to what Moorish science is? When we start talking about status correction and we start talking about driver's license fraud and we start talking about these things, most of the time, these people, our brothers and sisters, have never stepped a foot into the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, that might be shocking to you. They never, most of them, and I employ everybody, if you don't believe me, ask them, what temple have they been in? You know what they're going to tell you? The same thing that teacher told them. The temple is full of agents. The temple is compromised. That to scare them not to go there and find out for themselves. So, if somebody has never been in a Moorish Science Temple of America, how can you even subscribe to saying that you are Moorish American? And how do you set the tone to say what is Moorish science? Because you have people thinking that this craziness is Moorish science. It's not. It's not Moorish science. So whether you like it or not, my job is to see y'all had y'all time to play. Y'all had 15, 20 years to play with this thing. You had 15 to 20 years. You got your money. You didn't build nothing. You took all the money selling these books with these contracts. You did all of these types of things. You never built anything. So all I'm saying is, what have you built? So since you haven't built nothing, since you haven't uplift people as it relates to brick mortar, rubber to the road, talking the same stuff for 10 to 15 years, I'm saying enough is enough. So what we have here today, we have an attorney here today, our sister, attorney, Ikiesha Shabazz. She's here today, and we're going to ask her about laws because we know that somebody, and then another thing, all of those that talk about law, why don't they ever bring a lawyer with them? We have a lawyer here. Whether you like her or not, she's a lawyer. She took the painstaking classes, courses, years of study, going passing the bar to study the American law, the laws of America, the laws of her state, whatever. She studied and earned the sheepskin. So if anybody is qualified, would it be somebody that just got out of prison talking about law? Would it be somebody that took a few courses online talking about law? Would it be somebody that just threw affairs on and start talking about in-law, up-law, above law, and then when you disagree with them, they cuss you out, call you an agent? Is they more qualified? Are they more qualified to tell you what's right, or a lawyer? For me, I broke a few laws back in the day. I don't want the guy just got out of prison or the guy talking about law but have not qualified himself by passing the bar representing me. I'd rather represent myself. I'm good. But if I'm going to get somebody to represent me, I'm going to get somebody that is qualified to represent me. And one who is qualified is one that went through the changes in order to get to the level to put Esquire at the end of their name. And with that, Ikiesha, how you doing, my sister?
I'm great, King. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. For those that have been under a rock and haven't heard of you, haven't seen you, yeah, and she got a mean workout. She got a mean work, but that's another show. That's another show. Hey, I ain't looking at the sister like that. I just did some investigation, seen some pictures, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, sister, can you please come into the chat and introduce yourself to the family that those that may have been under a rock or something? How you doing, sis?
I'm great. I'm great. For those who don't know me, I'm Ikiesha Al Shabazz. I'm a practicing attorney here in New York City. I practice in the state and in the federal courts. I am a former professor of law. I'm also a former prosecutor. So I've been on both sides of the criminal justice system. I was a prosecutor for 5 years, and I've been doing defense work since 2006, so for the last 10 years. And my platform is Ike Speaks. If you don't know, I have a YouTube channel where I pretty much just try to tell I'm just trying to give you information. What you do with the information is on you, but information is power. And so if I can give people information and they govern themselves accordingly, then we can stay out of the criminal justice system. And that's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that, I got my brother Ali Bey. Come in the chat and let the people know who you are, and then we're going to start on this conversation. I got a few questions, and then I'm going to let you take it away from me. Brother Ali Bey, are you there?
Greetings, Sister Ikiesha. How's everything?
Greetings. Everything's great, King. How are you?
All right. All is well. Yeah, all is well. This is Ali Bey. I'm calling in from Manhattan, Harlem, actually. So I'm on every week, and I just want to extend honors to you for actually coming on. I'm so glad that you were able to do it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And sis, don't hold back nothing, because what you heard about Moors, a lot of that stuff ain't right. So don't hold back. And I'm saying that saying that because I got this fez on. Don't hold back. I want the truth if it kills me. That's it. Right. I want the truth if it kills me. And when we see this fez, we know a lot of things that have been perpetrated with brothers on with this fez on. So I just want the truth. And so let's just start it off. Let's get straight to the meat of it. Sister, is status correction, is that something that is legally required to put you into the system, or take you out of some sort of system that they call a corporation?
No, status correction does not work. There is nothing you can do. There are no papers you can file that is going to take you out of the system and somehow declare you other than other citizens of this nation. No, unless you are a Native American and you have been recognized by this government as a sovereign entity. But that hasn't happened with the and I use the air quotes, with the Moorish movement, because it's really a fringe sect of the Moorish, the Moors, who are advocating for status correction and for people to drive around with cardboard on their cars instead of license plates, and without driver's licenses, and it's very dangerous because there's no precedence for that. They're relying on a lot of law that they have misunderstood. For instance, I got a list of questions from Ali Bey, and I made sure that I wanted to address them all. And one of the questions he asked me was, because there's this thought that if you are not of the jurisdiction of New York, of the United States, then you aren't required to pay taxes either. So you get to drive free. You just get to circumvent all the laws because they don't apply to you, and because you're a sovereign, which means you can break all the laws and then there's no accountability, which is why the government is looking at these individuals for things like treason and sedition and things of that nature, because you are advocating an adverse position to the government, right? So a lot of them are using something like the Friendship Treaty, right? The Peace and Friendship Treaty, which was between the U.S. and Morocco.
And sis, please go in on that. That's one of the foundations of this stuff.
Right,
please.
But the friend, well, here it's problematic on so many levels. But just first, the problem is Morocco, and for a lot of our people who are geographically challenged, Morocco is in northern Africa, right? Most of our people who have done enough of the genealogy research have found that most of those that were part of the transatlantic slave trade came from West Africa and other parts of Africa. So first, how do you establish that you are a descendant from someone from Morocco, as opposed to a descendant from someone from Ghana or West Africa, or you're a descendant from some indigenous, there's also a group of from indigenous people who were here before the Europeans got here. So first you got to determine that, right? And so if you can join your bloodline back to Morocco some way, which, and I'll say about after 1800, if you're in the United States and you Black, you can't, because there are no records. There aren't any records. The further you go back, the more we're referred to as property or chattel. And even checking chattel records, they didn't keep them that well. You'd be lucky if you could find historical documentation on your ancestors back to 1700, 1600, 1500, anything like that. So that's the first problem. The second problem is the treaty doesn't say shit about you being sovereign. It doesn't. It regulates how the United States will deal with Moroccans if they are engaged in some sort of international or maritime issue.
That's right.
So that doesn't apply to us, because this is not a maritime jurisdiction. Maritime speaks specifically to things that happen in international waters. And there's a body of law that governs that. So the Friendship Treaty doesn't speak to that. There's nothing in there that says if you find anyone of Moroccan ancestry in the United States, then they are thereby conferred sovereign status. It doesn't say that anywhere. Nope. There's nothing even that says that a little bit that you could try to extrapolate that that's what that means. It's mind-boggling, right? So then there's all of this argument that the laws aren't the laws, right? The statutes aren't laws, but then you rely on a statute to bolster your position, right? You're saying, oh, the police need a delegation authority according to the U.S. Code, but how can you cite the U.S. Code when you just said the statute's not law? So now you're talking out both sides of your face, right? And you look crazy. You look crazy because ultimately what you're saying is to the court is you don't have jurisdiction over me. So I'm going to file papers with you.
That's good.
Right. You don't have jurisdiction over me, but I'm going to file these papers with you so you can acknowledge that you don't have jurisdiction over me. Like that's mind-numbing to me as an attorney. It just is. It's nonsensical. It just makes no sense. It's what we call non sequitur. Like it doesn't follow. It just doesn't follow. And that's just the tip of the iceberg on all that's wrong with status correction. Now, let me just say this. Historically, there may be an argument to be made that we are sovereign people, whether it's because we are indigenous to this land or because we're not indigenous to this land and we came here under duress, right, for lack of a better term. And so we never had citizenship. It wasn't conferred upon us. But then we would have to ignore the changes that were made to the Constitution after, the Civil War, right? So we can't just ignore that those things were changed and citizenship was then conferred upon us. So, right, we weren't citizens. We were 3/5 of a person at one time in this country. Granted, but that law has changed, and that's the nature of law. It's malleable. That's one of the things I love about the law is that it changes. It changes with time. It changes with politics. It changes with the dynamics of the world. And so we can't just look at it and say, well, we were, the Dred Scott decision said, Dred Scott didn't say anything except that Black people don't have have rights that white people have to abide by. In no way does it say that makes you a sovereign entity. It just doesn't.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Yes. Ali Bey, I know you had some things that you want to point out before I point out my things. Anything you want to address?
Yeah. Well, the sister and I had a little dialogue in the inbox where I was explaining some of the things that we had spoken about on previous shows, and one very important piece was this whole delegation of authority order that has been taught that police officers are required to possess, and you know, produce upon you demanding, you know, that they produce this thing. It kind of bothered people that we were saying that there is no delegation of authority order that the police are required to possess and produce when you know, demand it from them. And I was telling you in the inbox that they were using Title 46 of the United States Code, as well as Title 5 of the United States Code, to try to qualify the claims. And I'm like, no, those things do not pertain to municipal police in any way, shape, or form.
In any way, exactly. Those, in fact, the problem that people are having, and one thing about the law that is really special and unique, is that most statutes have a definition section. You can't read a statute in a vacuum and expect to apply ordinary meanings to legal statutes. It doesn't work that way. For example, in New York, to sell, the legal definition with respect to narcotics, the legal definition of sell includes to give, right? Usually, traditionally, we think, and denotatively, right, based on what the dictionary says, we believe that sell is an exchange, right? You give me something and I give you something in exchange for that, right? That's a sale. No, under the law, if you give your friend cocaine, that's a sale in New York, right? And so if you don't read the definition section of the penal law that governs drug narcotics transactions, you're not going to know that. And so you might actually think that you have a defense, like, he didn't give me no money, I just gave him some coke, when you just confessed to a felony, right? Because you haven't read the definition section. And that's the same thing with this US code, because the first thing you do is read the definition section, and it tells you that this code applies to federal agencies.
Right.
It does not apply to municipalities that have police forces. They don't need a delegation of authority. And let me just go there. Even if they did, right? And they pull you over and you like, let me see a delegation of authority. And they go, we don't fucking have it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna arrest me now. Dude, you know what I'm saying? You go, you're picking yourself up off the floor. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You just cannot win in that realm. And I wish that there was a way that this could be put together in some sort of legally cogent manner, so that it could make sense. But the way that they're going about it, using these laws to support, it's just there's no basis. And there are cases, and I've pulled cases up. One case I believe was some people had been advised by Ali Muhammad, and they lost all their shit because they came in with the whole, we're not, you know, under the jurisdiction, in the court's like, yeah, that treaty don't even apply to you. Doesn't even apply to you, right? So they have been advancing the arguments in court, but they get shot down every time. They get shot down every time. And if you are dependent on the enemy to accept your position, then how do you win? How can you win? The enemy is never going to accept your position, right? It is a direct conflict for the United States to say you black people are sovereign, right? We need them. They need us to continue with the slavery, right? They need that continued economic and political incentives to keep our black asses locked up. Right, and so you're not gonna go be sovereign somewhere. No, we're not gonna have that.
And you know what's
which is why I think a lot of people call me an agent. Right, I've been called, you're an agent. Why? Because I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear. If I walk in the court with you, that's not the argument that we're going to advance, sweetheart. Trust me when I tell you it won't work. And I like to walk back out with my clients. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to go in there and make an argument that has no weight. That's the last thing that you want to do. You lose all credibility when you stand up and just say stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the other thing that they like to talk about is the idea that the United States is a corporation, right?
Yes. Well, it is. That's true. The United States is a corporation, right? And if you roll all of that back, you'll see exactly the connection between United States being a corporation and the Federal Reserve not being federal at all, and being a private organization. And sure, you can pull back all of that, you know, and see how corrupt our government is. Yes,
Right.
that's true. So, and so what? And so, okay, so now then you think your birth certificate is being traded on the stock exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't been able to verify that anywhere. And I've been looking because I want my money. If this is true, somebody owe me some money or something. Shit.
Here's what they do though. They use another section of the United States codes, right? Which is Title 28. Title 28 of the United States codes, which is the title pertaining to judiciary and judicial procedure. Mm-hmm. And Section 3002, which gives the definitions. And what they do is use the definition of United States as given in this section of that particular title, where it says United States means a federal corporation. And so what we've done is I've actually taken the time to put together a bunch of material to show that when this thing is talking about under the judicial and judiciary title of the United States Code, that they're talking about federal corporations underneath the United States that will appear in in trials under the name United States. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, it sounds more. I mean, because you got to understand that there are so many departments and agencies under the umbrella of the federal government, right? It's this amorphous entity, and so there has to be regulation for all of it, and that speaks to that amorphous entity. It doesn't have anything to do with what judges, what authority judges have in a municipal courtroom.
Right.
It just doesn't. It seems like, you know, what they do is that they try to pull something that sounds a little bit on the side of what they are trying to advance, and then they just blow it way out of proportion. That's what it sounds like. But that's not what that means. It's not saying that the United States is a corporation in that statute. That's not what that means. It actually is what you said it means. It is referring to what entities appear before it that are federal corporations, because, you know, under the law, a corporation is a person. Right. They can be charged with crimes. They can be, you know, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. And then the section of it, you know, they start with A. With the first one is A, saying a federal corporation. United States means a federal corporation. And B, they don't even read B, and they don't read C.
They don't read nothing else. Yeah, they don't read nothing else. Mm-hmm. They don't read anything else. And that's the problem, is because first of all, when you're reading a statute and you really want to understand what the statute is about, you need to go back to the sessions, right? The legislative intent. Right. Before it was passed, right? Before it became the law, there was all of this that had to happen first. And so if you really want to understand what the meaning is behind the statute, you have to look at the legislative intent. What was the intent when they enacted this? What was the goal behind this particular statute? What law was it? What area of life was it trying to regulate? And they don't do that. They don't do that. They just look at it on its face and go, that looks good, let's use that. Right. And unfortunately, our people, you know, we as a society, and that's all of us, have become these passive bystanders. And so we just take information as it comes, and we don't have that inherent curiosity that I think everyone should have, enough to question and just dig a little deeper and peel back a couple more layers. We tend to just accept what's said. And you just hear people going, that's deep. No, that's not fucking deep. It's not deep. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not. You know, it's sad. That's what it is, because if it worked, why are there so many Moors in prison?
Exactly. And not only in prison, are losing their life. Some are losing.
Exactly. Right. And
that's my point.
Yeah.
The danger of even entering into that and coming getting into some psychosis that this stuff is going to work.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I agree with you. It's frustrating for me as an attorney who is actually trying to educate people on what they should and should not do when they are engaging in police, to have this misinformation counter my information, and have a group of people say you're an agent, and then to see this young woman be killed because she fully bought into the rhetoric, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. It's heartbreaking to know that there was a woman that was with a man. There was a man. He didn't protect her. Unfortunately, that's the story of us as Black women. We don't get the protection that we require. And he didn't protect her in that moment, or any of those moments that led up to that moment. But she had fully bought into this notion that, one, you don't have to drive with a driver's license. You can travel on the road because you're not driving, you're traveling. And that you don't have to have license plates. You can just use a cardboard cutout and put that on the front and the back of your car, because that will suffice, because you're not operating in interstate commerce, so you're not driving, which is mind-boggling to me, because the roads are regulated by the state and the city and the counties that they lie in. And it would be ridiculous for us as the people to think that they don't have the authority to regulate the roads. Like, seriously, right. I don't want to be on the same road if you don't have a driver's license, if you don't have insurance, because that's detrimental to me. Right.
Sis,
so
that's what we're trying to tell these people. I tell people all the time, at the core of the motor vehicle statutes is the issue of public safety. What is so hard to understand about that?
Right. And then, the other thing is that people need to understand that even if you recognize that that you have rights, right? We do have rights. You have the right to be free from.
Let me cut you for 1 second. Please share this, please, because sis is going in with common sense. And I'm telling you, we've tried to put this thing in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different ways.
Right.
You just said has to resonate. Like, how are you going to fight against a system but then obey the laws of the road at the same time?
Right. You stopping at the red light, you're not going to stop at the light. Well, I mean, how does that work? And then what happens if you get into a car accident and you get injured? You trying to sue? You're going to go to the court that don't have jurisdiction and try to sue, because you have to submit to jurisdiction if you want to get your money. Right. So, it becomes caricaturish, for lack of a better term. It becomes comedic when you're using the law to only to your benefit, right? Because you don't want to obey it unless you could get paid. That's crazy. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. And what I was going to say about rights is, sure, we all have rights, but no right is an absolute right. You don't have any absolute rights. So even if you did have the right to travel on the road, to be free from intrusion, it's not an absolute right. When every right is subject to whether or not you're exercising it poses a security risk to others, which is why you cannot scream fire in a crowded theater. It's not that you don't have the right to free speech. You can. But if you do that, you are then going to cause pandemonium and a stampede, and people can be injured. And so your right to speak in that regard has been curtailed because it's dangerous. And the same is true for having a driver's license, having registration, having your car properly, having emissions, having insurance. All of that is geared under the same principle that while you do have rights, those rights are subject to law.
That's right. That's right. I was just trying to add that, to the point of freedom of speech. Well, I've used that in the past as well. Where slander, you can say what you want, but at a certain point, you can't cross a line to the place where you can wind up causing trouble for yourself just from what you're saying. So yes, in terms of all rights are not absolute, and even the right to travel. I think at a certain point, driving was something that was not. After the state legislature, every state has implemented motor vehicle laws. The legislatures, the general assemblies, whatever they're called in whatever state you're in, they implemented the laws. It is what it is. There's no old common law 1800s case that's going to overrule the state statutes. That's not how it works.
Right, and it shouldn't work like that, because think about it. It's not just motor vehicle laws, but if that rationale applies to motor vehicle laws, wouldn't it apply to aviation rules and boating rules and all of the rules? So when you get on a passenger plane, well, you have no assurances that that guy is a licensed pilot who can fly this shit, right? He might just be like some right-wing fringe dude who's like, yo, let me fly, I got the right to travel. Like, that's crazy. You're like, nah, I'm good, I'll walk. Like, come on. It's unreal. I mean, you have to think about, I mean, we can't look at these things in a vacuum, right? Because there are all manner of regulations that control our everyday lives. I have to be licensed to practice law. That's a protection for the people. That's a protection for you, so I don't show up and tell you some bullshit and you have no recourse because you listened to me and now you're doing 15 years. Do you really want people in court who haven't been vetted to actually know some of what they're supposed to be doing? I mean, you know, there's good and bad of everything, but to the extent that when you go in court, you should have some reasonable assurance that the person that you hired has been vetted by the state on some level, that they've passed educational background, if they've done the educational requirements, whatever experience requirements were needed, whatever testing, whatever certification was required, that all of that was done. The same is true for doctors, right? If you're going in for surgery, do you want the dude that's been to the doctor? Or do you want the dude that's been to medical school? Right? You know what I mean? You know what? I've been to the doctor. I saw that before. Let me take care of you.
Yeah, or I saw it on TV.
I want that regulated. I need that regulated. And so you can't tell me that because you are some fringe sect of the Moorish society that you now are going to call yourself Dr. So-and-so without having gone through the very extensive protocol that it takes to get that.
Thank you.
That certification, to get that credential. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in the so-called conscious community that have attached these letters to the back and front of their names, and they haven't earned any of that.
That's right.
They haven't earned it. They haven't earned it at all in any capacity. And it's unfortunate that our people have been taught to think that if you have education, if you've been educated by the white man, that you somehow are deficient in your passion for our people. That's the dumbest shit ever. Listen, there are people who want to fight the system from the outside. I'm one of those people that's fighting it from the inside. And you can ask the young men whose lives I've saved whether they would rather have me standing next to them in the courtroom or standing outside filing some paper for their sovereignty.
Well,
powerful.
Absolutely. I'm looking right now at this production. They call it a publication, but it's a production website. And I want to read something to you real quick. I'm not going to split screen because I don't want to give them too much props. They done got enough already dealing with me.
Okay.
I done blew their channel up, you know, talking about the ills of this doctrine. But nevertheless, it's something on here that says that your right to travel upon the land is not policy, nor is it embodied in a code. It is a substantive right of birth, is or leaned upon, thus unalienable and inalienable. You are a traveler, unless you are doing commerce, and you spoke on that. You are not a driver. It seemed minuscule, however, it is the truth of facts. Words are very important, as that it was the jurisdiction, as that is what jurisdiction is, right of words. This is speaking to not driving, being a traveler. Is being a traveler different from driving according to law? And then and you touched on it, but I'm trying to simplify it because I'm gonna be cursed out tomorrow. You know, if you're an agent, I'm an agent. We some agents now.
Yo, we've
Right.
been
Right.
agents.
That's okay. Listen, I'm okay with that. I don't really care what people call me because it only matters what I answer to. And I don't answer to agent. So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that it means nothing to me.
Me neither. I'm good.
But to speak on that, it just takes us right back to we all do have inalienable rights. We do. I give them that. That's in the Constitution. That's natural law. That's whatever you want to call it, right? We get that. The problem is, it's not an absolute right. It's just not an absolute right. You don't get to do it at the expense of anyone else. You don't just get to do it because you declare it so. It's not absolute. Every right has conditions, so to speak, and those conditions are predicated on security. Think about every right that you have that might be abridged in any way. It's abridged for security purposes. When you go to the airport, you take your shoes off. You have to. It's
right.
your right to keep your shoes on. Turn your ass around. You're not getting on this plane. Go ahead and exercise your rights, right? But if you want to get on that plane, then you got to surrender that right. You got to take off your shoes. You might take off all your clothes. You got to take off your belt, jewelry. Right? And so you are subjecting yourself to personal invasion because you want to get on the plane.
That's right.
The same is true. If you want to drive this car, if you want to travel in this car while you are behind the steering wheel, whether you are engaged in interstate commerce or not, and half of the people have no idea what that means, but we're going to come back to that in 1 second, right? Because the Commerce Clause is so far inexpensive that they could probably include your traveling ass, right? Because they've included anything else in the Commerce Clause. Think if you know anything about anything from Violence Against Women Act, that was predicated on the Commerce Clause, to state schools, to the Mann Act, in which you can't go from one state to another with a prostitute, right? You can't travel for the purposes of having sex from one state to another. That's interstate commerce. So you don't even think that things like that are touched by something that sounds so abstract, right?
Sis, what about getting gasoline? What about buying gasoline and putting it in the car?
Right. You got to do all of that. There's no way around it. There's no way around. There's no way around it. It just doesn't work. You have rights, but they are not absolute. They are subjected to security protocols, or what we say in the law is the legitimate purpose of or legitimate purposes of that particular statute to keep other people safe. You don't get around that. You don't get around that. You just don't. And if you are driving without a driver's license and you get stopped, you get stopped, you could get arrested. They may not just give you a ticket, right? Because understand that the people who are doing this, there's a red flag all over FBI, CIA, the municipal police departments. They've all gotten a bulletin about the sovereign rights movement, and y'all are nicely put under a terrorist organization, homegrown domestic terrorists. Yeah,
and that's
because you're advocating for not following the law. You can't. Then what do you expect the government to do in response to that? Just go, okay, that's cool. And if you really do the research on the sovereign rights movement, this started a long time ago, way before they picked it up. This wasn't a Noble Drew Ali thing. White people started this.
That's right.
A long time ago. White people started this.
That's right, sis. Facts.
White people started this, and then some people just jumped on the bandwagon.
The first case was documented in the 80s. The first case of trying to run this through the court system. So, this is not our thing. Nevertheless,
it's not our thing.
Let me ask you a question, sis. They on this thing, they're talking about standing in law, of law, properia persona. You ever heard of this stuff?
Standing in, it depends. It depends, right? Whether or not you have standing to challenge a law, right? If the law doesn't affect you and you're not an aggrieved party, you don't have standing to challenge a law.
All right, this is what I'm gonna read from. It says, if you are proceeding in a court for yourself or on your own behalf in person, it's underlined, then it would be necessarily it will be necessary to know the three main factors at law prior to proceeding pro se. In regards in person, you must first state your person as a proper name and persona factor.
Okay, that's
Standing at law. This set personam jurisdiction determines if the court has jurisdiction over you or over your person. And then it goes on the subject matter, venue, jurisdiction, all of that. Have you ever heard of this?
Yes, that's it.
Are you familiar?
That's just, honestly, that's just basic stuff, right? If you're going to, like, say me and you were supposed to do something together and I backed out. You like, sis, I sent you some money. I need that money back. I'm like, ooh, it's going. You're like, I'm about to sue you, right? We go to court and the court has to have jurisdiction over me. So you have to do certain things to make sure that that jurisdiction is conferred. You have to serve me. Right? You've heard that before. Process of service. You have to find me where I am and give me those papers that say you need to be in court. I'm suing you, right? Once I get those papers, and if I don't show up, then you go say, I served her. You're gonna file in court what's called an affidavit of service by either your best friend or a process server who says, I served her. She 5'8", 145 pounds, give a good description and all of that. The court is gonna say, okay, she has voluntarily decided not to come and grant you a default judgment, right? Now, if I come to court, I might assert, one, the court doesn't have jurisdiction over me. That's in personam jurisdiction. I might say the court doesn't have jurisdiction over this case, right? Depending, that's subject matter. This court doesn't have jurisdiction over the subject matter. That's possible. I might want to move venue. Venue just means move this court from this court to another court because for some reason I can't get a fair trial here, right? So I need to go somewhere else. Or there's some conflict. Maybe I used to work for that DA who wants to prosecute me. I don't think that they're going to be fair to me. I want to change venues, right? All of that is pro forma shit that you do as a matter of course. Most of the time when you show your ass up in court, that's jurisdiction. When you answer, when you come to answer, you are conferring jurisdiction. Many people don't know that. So when you show up to answer, that's it. Okay, and then you can submit your papers, submit some type of motion. A motion is only a request to move the court to do a certain thing for you, which is, i.e. dismiss this case. Like either you want to dismiss it on the merits or you can get it dismissed procedurally. There's a whole number of different ways you can go about handling it, but that doesn't have anything to do with you being a sovereign individual. That's available to everyone.
Right.
And that's what everyone and every attorney should make sure that the courts have jurisdiction over their client. If you have a client who is a foreign national, and that's what they're trying to assert, that they are sovereign so that they have immunity, right? But that the problem is that they're not recognized as any sovereign entity. The closest I've seen is the court say that the Moors are a sovereign body politic. Sovereign body politic is not sovereign nation. You're not going to get the same treatment as a sovereign nation, right? Woodrow Wilson who conferred the status on the Moors and recognized them as a sovereign body politic, and recognized their religion and recognized them as a nationality. That doesn't mean that you're sovereign. That just means you have a nationality now.
Oh, the new thing
you don't have to say. Go ahead.
The new thing is that they're not sovereign now because they know it draws heat to them. So now they just say they in law above. I forget what do they?
They're saying they're exercising their birthrights. That's what they're saying now. They switched it from sovereign to exercising.
Use that catchphrase because they call the colonists this and the colonists that, but they show that they scared of the colonists because they don't want to say I'm a separate nation. They want to say this is my birthright, but they use every line that the European sovereign nations use.
Right, because they stole this from the white people who started this movement. The problem though is that they're not sovereign. You're not sovereign. I mean, no matter how you use no matter what semantics you use, and you say, okay, so let's go down that line. You say this is your birthright, right? Okay, what's your birthright? How so? Right? Because then again, we've got this problem with our genealogy in this country. What is your birthright? Can you trace your ancestral line, and how far can you go back? I mean, trust me, first of all, it's going to cost a lot of money for one person to do it. And I'm not talking about the little $100 or $200 bullshit DNA test. I'm talking about the real mitochondrial DNA, like some real go back down your mother's line shit, where you're going to run into a brick wall. So how are you going to assert what your birthright is when you can't assert what your ancestral DNA is? See, you don't know where you came from.
And that's why we subscribe. Let me just say real quick, and that's why we subscribe to the Moorish Science Temple of America, the teaching of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because the teachings actually exemplify that it's a conglomerate of tribes. It's no specific tribe. So when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the Moors are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, when you say most came from where? West Africa, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is picking the whole region. So in the whole region. It said the Moors are descendants of Moroccans born in America. But he's talking about a conglomerate of tribes. He's not talking about a particular place. Because in the other record, again, it says the Moors are descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa, which covers a whole lot of territory. So,
which doesn't fall under the friendship and the treaty. It just doesn't. The peace and friendship treaty. That was just Morocco.
Absolutely. This is excellent. But I'm gonna go back to some other stuff. But I need to ask you. A brother told me, and I was a bit upset. That a brother on one of them channels, one of them old channels, he told me, he said, I'm going. Look, he looked real educated too. No, he said. Now we got this guy, he's from Baltimore. And this guy, I'm going to teach him something today. See, he belongs to the corporation. Baltimore City owns him. He is owned by the corporation, and I'm going to teach him today how to get out of the corporation. Sister, do somebody own me that I don't know about?
Well, ownership is one of those things that we can speak of. Obviously, we're not in chains, right? So there's no literal ownership, but figuratively, are we still an oppressed people? In that regard, do we have? I mean, are we totally free? I mean, in some regard, I not in the way he's talking about, though, right? Not in the way that he's advancing. No, not that way. Nobody owns me in that regard. But in terms of what I'm able to do as a Black woman in the wilderness of North America, I'm limited because I don't have the power, structure, and resources to compete or challenge that ownership. So yeah, I mean, the modern day slavery is a real thing in that regard. He's not talking about that. He's talking about the corporation owns you because when you were born, they put your birth certificate on the stock market and you can trace the numbers on the bottom. That's some bullshit. It's some bullshit. It's bullshit. It's straight bullshit.
Can you speak?
It's straight bullshit. And you know what the problem is? Because we have so many conspiracy theories, right? When you think about it, right? When you think about all the conspiracy theories that are being advanced, not just about Black people, but just in, the factual aspects of what happened to us, the human experimenting and all of the things that happen behind closed doors, right? That come to light 30, 40 years after the fact. People now have been set up to believe every conspiracy theory, right? Because you remember Tuskegee, right? Oh, you think that shit ain't true? Yeah, they did it in Tuskegee, right? And so you got people who are just like, every conspiracy theory has to have teeth. It doesn't. Sometimes shit is just a conspiracy theory. Sometimes it's just some crazy ass person who got a lot of people to follow them. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's the sheer volume of that a person has their following. But a lot of people believe in Santa Claus. So that should never be the basis for you thinking someone has any authority on anything. It's because people follow them. People follow Jesus. You know what I mean? And personally, I'm like, that's the same as Santa Claus. You know what I mean? So That can't ever be the basis, but that's how our people roll, right? That's how we operate. We're like, oh, look at so-and-so. He got 20,000 followers. He got 100,000 followers. Oh, he wrote a book. He must know what he's talking about. Everybody can be
Let me say this
in
regards to exercise and birthright. Let me just read this real quick because there's a case that I pulled up regarding the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs versus the 46th District Court of Oakland County. This was a 2007 case where the judge stated in the case that he says that dismissing the claims that the plaintiffs own several parcels of property by virtue of their Moorish ancestry as baseless, fantastic, and delusional, and finding the complaint to be indecipherable.
Yeah.
Indecipherable.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are the kinds of these
Wait,
are the
I
kinds
got one.
Okay.
Let me follow up on that one because I have one from 2005. This is a Great Seal Temple of America. Oh shoot! Did my computer just go off? You hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Okay, I'm back. So this one is suing New Jersey, right?
Yes.
They're suing New Jersey Police Department, and a bunch of cops from New Jersey. But they're suing them in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania.
Oh,
remember
gosh,
about
yes,
jurisdiction?
I know that case. I know.
Okay, so, right. So jurisdiction is important, especially when you file in the wrong court, right? Because Pennsylvania has nothing to do with what's going on in New Jersey.
But see, now the guy's case that you're getting ready to read from is one of the people that they consider the master teacher. But
I know, I saw his name in here. But what I love about what the court says is that the Moors complaint is extremely vague, and the exact causes of action for which the Moors seek relief is unclear. Essentially, the complaint makes no logical sense, inasmuch as it is a random rendition bordering on mishmash of legalese turned into meaningless meanderings. Because that's how I feel when I hear them. It sounds like a mishmash of legalese that they just threw together to make it sound articulable, to make it sound smart. But to a trained ear, it sounds like shit. It's illogical. It's inarticulable. It's poorly written. It's poorly structured. It's poorly thought out. And you're in the wrong damn court. Really?
Right.
Come on.
Right.
But they go on to talk about they talk about the Great Seal and the followers being from Noble Drew Ali. They talk about having different various identifications, having an international passport, having an international driver's license, things of that nature. Well, even if you got an international driver's license, you still got a driver's license, right? So you could take that out and show police if they stop you. At some point, though, if you are a resident here, you're going to have to convert your license more likely than not, unless you have some type of dual citizenship. And most people don't have that. But yeah, I mean, it's laughable when you look at the cases where they actually have advanced these thoughts, opinions, and whatever you want to call them. They've literally been laughed out of court. Literally, not figuratively, literally. Now, just from my own experience, from being both a prosecutor and a defense attorney, I have seen many people standing up in court on long tirade about how the flag has fringes on the side and you're Article 3 judge and you don't have jurisdiction over me. And this is what the judges do. You finish? They let them go on and on and on and on. And it frustrates us because we got shit to do and some places to be. But the judge is very patient all the time. Every time I've seen this happen, I've seen the judge just let them go on ad nauseum until they finish. And then they go, your motion is denied. Whatever you were asking for, you're not getting that. And let's proceed with what we came here to do. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Check this one out. This one says, it is well recognized that such organizations as the Moorish American Nation and similar imaginary creations like the Nation of Washita are notorious organizations of scofflaws and ne'er-do-wells who attempt to benefit from the protections of federal and state law while simultaneously proclaiming their independence from and total lack of responsibility under those same laws. This is from the case of Sanders Bay versus United States. It was a court case from 2008.
Nice.
What you were talking about earlier, how, you know, it's like this real circular logic, like, yeah, the statutes, you know, the statutes don't pertain to me, but I'm going to get protection from the statutes.
Right. They don't protect, or I'm going to go get me some benefits. How many of y'all are receiving public assistance and got Medicaid or, you know, some kind of EBT card? Get the fuck out of here. You cannot have an EBT card talking about you sovereign.
Right.
No. I'm not feeling that. That's not acceptable.
And you know, a lot of these people pushing this thing too about not having driver's licenses and stuff. A lot of them have licenses, but they're telling other people not to get them on the low. I've actually seen.
They have them on the low. Exactly. Right.
You know,
they don't practice what they preach. Our people need to govern yourself within the boundaries of the law. It's not hard. You're not a sellout. You don't become an agent because you have a driver's license. I do want to speak on the voluntary withholding because they believe that they don't have to pay taxes because this is a voluntary, and they are conflating the terms, right? Voluntary withholding under the tax law is something very different than voluntary compliance. Our system in the United States is a voluntary compliance system. That means that you on April 15 voluntarily make sure your shit is in. You know, your taxes are filed and you are declaring that this is what you made, right? Based on what your W-2 was, and you're going to say what I made on the side with these 1099s or whatever, right? It's voluntary that you declare that that's voluntary compliance. That's something completely different than voluntary withholding. Voluntary withholding is for people who receive some type of income that doesn't already have taxes coming out of it. For instance, Social Security. Social Security is taxable income. But you can arrange that taxes come out because they don't take them out automatically. You have to pay quarterly based on that income or, you know, at the end of the year. But you can say, give me a voluntary withholding form so that I don't have to headache later and have you take out from my Social Security benefits now when they're coming. That's voluntary withholding. You saying to the IRS, voluntarily take the money out of this that's not automatically taken out so that I don't have to deal with the headache later and trying to calculate what I owe y'all. That's the difference.
Right.
And just it doesn't mean that it's not required. Right? Because if you don't voluntarily comply, they're gonna come get you. They're gonna come get you. You know what I'm saying? So that's them conflating issues and misunderstanding what the word voluntary really means in those two different contexts.
Exactly. And one of the things we had discussed on another show was being able to adjust your dependents and all of that, and with the employer, and whether or not you want them to take out the med, you do it yourself at the end of the year and make sure that you pay.
Right. That's voluntary compliance. That's you deciding how you'd like to comply with the tax laws. That's not you deciding you don't want it, that you don't have to comply with the tax law. That's not an invitation. That's not an invitation for you to say, "Oh, it's voluntary. I don't want to volunteer." That's not what that means.
Right, because the government is the de facto corporation and it has no jurisdiction, and so therefore I'm not subject to the law, its tax laws. That's for a person. That's another thing. They have a problem with the word person. They think that the word person only means a corporation.
Right. No, it doesn't. And in plenty of statutes, it explains to you what a U.S. citizen is. I mean, I know they go back and forth with personhood and You know, but some corporations can be declared a person. That's true. But that doesn't mean that you as a person are not a person.
Right.
Because, you know what I mean? Because something else is also a person under the law. Right?
Exactly.
That's the thing about the law. The law is sort of like a vacuum. The things that mean something in the law don't necessarily mean the same things outside of that vacuum.
Exactly.
Well, and that's you know, that's the difference.
Ali Bay, real quick, let me and hold your question for a minute. Since I got a brother in this chat room, he is killing me. T Duck. His name is T Duck 415. First he said, brother Tahaka Bay, ask her will she marry me. Then he goes on, invite her to the temple. But then somebody said she needs to claim her nationality. T Duck said, no, she doesn't. So you gotta
clean my house. My house looks dirty from y'all's point of view. I mean, I'm in my office.
No, T Duck. His name is T Duck. He is head over heels for you.
Peace to the God. Peace to the God.
I did it, my brother. That is up to you. I'll carry on from Ali Bay.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. That's excellent, man. Are there any questions? Like, does anyone have anything that they want to talk about, like that they may disagree with or what have you? Because this is it.
I tell you what, I was looking and I was writing some stuff down as they was going up in the chat, and somebody put legal. Now I'm not.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna tell you now. I don't have no sheepskin. So if I mess this up, work with me.
I got you.
Yeah, work with me.
I got you.
But legalese and
legalese,
right?
And symbolography are not law. Did anything jump to you with that?
Well, legalese is a term that just means that you're speaking in a certain way where you're using a lot of legal jargon. That's all legalese is. It's not a
separate language.
Right. It's not right. I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm like, it's kind of self-explanatory, you know?
Yes, some of this stuff, sis, some of this stuff is so juvenile. Some of this stuff is so juvenile that it becomes like, man, how do you respond? Should you even respond to something? Some of it is just so insane. It's like, come on, man.
But we have to understand that young people are gravitating to this stuff. And the reason why they gravitate to it is because they're searching for themselves. And so searching for themselves, this is the next best thing from what they had.
Right.
Even though it may seem nothing to us, it may seem trivial to us, but to them, this is something big. Guess what? I don't need to follow these rules. It's all about being irresponsible. That's what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about
scary.
I don't want to take responsibility. Like I don't need a mortgage. I can just go and sit in the house. My four parents live here, and it's mine. I don't need to try to get a mortgage. For what? Why should I do that? My four parents was here first.
Right.
But the four parents are gone, and some kind of way in your twisted ideology, you think it's okay to sit in $1 million mansion. And you haven't left nair brick, you haven't punched nair clock, you haven't did it, bust nair sweat.
Right. My objection to that is that it's not that you aren't able to do that. There is a real law called adverse possession.
That's right.
But you have to know the law, right? Adverse possession requires that you live open and notoriously in this house for a specific period of time. It's usually, in most states, I think it's less time in other states, but usually it's 10 years, right? So you have to be living in someone else's property. You got the cable in your name, the light bill is on. You know, when I say open and notoriously, everyone knows that you're staying there. You're not, surreptitiously coming in the night when no one is around, right? And so then you can make an adverse possession claim. You can make an argument that this is your house because you have adversely possessed it for so long. And so now the ownership has been conferred to you. That's a real thing in the law. But you got to know the law.
Yeah, and in New Jersey,
it's not squatting. Squatting is something different.
Right. In New Jersey, I think this 20 years. I think,
right,
I believe this is a brother that just did some research on it. And he said in Jersey, it's 20 years, man, that you have to be in the house. That's crazy.
Exactly, 20 years, right? Because they don't want people to just, chill up in your house. You might be on some long extended disability somewhere in the damn rehab facility, and somebody come sit in your house for 6 months while you was, on the bike somewhere, and you come home, and they like, nah, I'm sorry, you wasn't here, fam.
Right.
And now I've been here 6 months straight, and this is my house. Get out of here.
Somebody said, can you answer what is symbolography? I guess that you ever heard that?
I've never heard of that.
It's SYMBOLEOGFGR.
Wait, I lost you after symbol.
Eography. EOGRAPHY.
I have no idea what that is. I've never heard that word before.
That's what I like. You don't know what it is.
I don't know. I'm not. Listen, I don't want to know everything. Then I'll be done here.
Then we be talking crazy because I was on the channel last night, and this 22, 23-year-old is was nothing he didn't know. He knew about mermaids. I mean, he said mermaids was real. I mean, he said the Moors stole the flag from Morocco, like we literally went there and snatched the flag from. He just went all in. He said so much crazy stuff.
Right.
But there wasn't nothing you could ask him he didn't know. Not one. He knew everything about the Bible. He said Prophet Muhammad was a Hebrew. I mean, good goodness gracious. He said some stuff. I was fascinated. I just said, whoa.
Wow. In his 22 years, he amassed all that. Listen, then you can go ahead and return to the essence of everything else, because we came here to grow. And if you finished, then bye.
How about that?
Exactly.
Because I know I ain't going nowhere because I got way too much shit to learn.
And since somebody want to know, have you ever heard of the free white man degree in the courtroom as an effective tool to get out of to get out of some drama? Usually, what's the amazing part is somebody is always in drama when we try to use these code statutes and law.
Yeah. Right. You're right, because for some reason you were in court. Right.
Oh,
that's
like one guy in a post said, I beat tickets all the time. I beat 3 of them last week. And I said to myself, just follow the rules of the road.
Right, because think about how much time it takes to beat those tickets.
Like you telling me,
that's a lot of time, wasted time you can't ever get back. Just don't do that. Just don't, why would you want to be in court doing that? And why would you be celebratory about it? That's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got my big brother Sharif Aniel Bey in the building. Brother Sharif, you got to introduce yourself because don't nobody know who you are but me. So you might as well come in the room and let people know who you are, brother. How you doing?
Islam, everybody.
Greetings
to the sister. Peace, sister.
Peace.
So, brother, we gotta extend this a little bit further. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because I got you, brother. I'm gonna let people know who you are. That's brother Sharif. Now I'm gonna know him a lot. He gonna be around me a lot. He's a master teacher, and I like to master around me.
I'm just a soldier, brother. I'm just a soldier. I like getting my hands dirty. Huh? Nah, that's it.
But you a master teacher to me, and I ain't putting cardboard on my car. And now, brother Sharif. Now I know that you can say something. So after you let the people know who you are, give your honors and all of that, brother, please see what.
Yeah, I want to start as we usually do as the custom of Moorish Americans, and I want to first give praise to Allah, the Almighty. I want to give honors to His Prophet, the last prophet in these days and times, Prophet Noble Drali. I want to give honors to all of you, all the listeners. I want to give honors to Moorish World TV, to my brother Talker Bay, aka Off the Turnbuckle Bay. Yes, give honors to my colleague Ali Bay on the call, and all the listeners. Well, again, I'm on this late. Apologies, I was late with the teaching class and then had to drive home and everything. But I mean, the topic is, it's an understatement to say that the topic is a needed topic, especially now. You know, and the first thing I want to say, which is the obvious, is that none of this paperwork stuff and status correction stuff and anything has anything to do with the Moorish movement. That's the most important thing that needs to be said. It has nothing to do with the Moorish movement. Absolutely nothing. Now, some of you all know that you know, a lot of what I do in speaking on this matter is penance work, because I was amongst those Moors back over 20 years ago doing this stuff and pushing it. As a matter of fact, it's largely because of me and a lot of brothers that I was around and learned from that it became confused as the modus operandi for the Moorish movement. You know what I mean? You know, and I can tell you firsthand because we were doing it. We were directly appropriating a lot of this stuff from the European patriot militia organizations. That's what we were doing. You know, we were appropriating this stuff and we were appropriating it based on first, it was based on our own misunderstanding of the Moorish movement and the direction of the movement, and we sought ideologies and tactics and things and procedures that fit our misunderstanding. That's how the whole thing started. Our misunderstanding of the Moorish movement is that we were dropout culture. You understand? That we weren't supposed to be involved with the system. That the system was some big bad monster with 8 legs. You know what I mean? And that the system is people. The system's not people. You know, the system is only as good or as bad as the people in the seats. You know what I mean? And so our mindset was, well, you know, we got to bang on the system. But no, I'm not going to go down. Let's just say that at a time when the legal system, when the legal system and law enforcement were not as nowhere near as familiar with this stuff as they are now. That worked for us in the immediate, but it worked against us overall because the fact that we got what we thought were victories emboldened us and made us think that we were right. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is that we were not right. We just knew more than the prosecutors and the judges that we were up against at that time. Right. It's a wrap for all that now, because for the past 15 years, there's been training. Law enforcement has, just like how they have cybercrime units, they got units for this stuff. Directly dedicated, they got manpower and information dedicated directly to this stuff, to combat this stuff. You got, you know, trainings where, you know, people in law enforcement and in the court system are learning these tactics and how to counter them. You see what I'm saying? Right, bro. Now, here's what's interesting. The people that push a lot of this stuff that started, I'm talking about the European sovereign citizen groups and patriot or militia organizations, this stuff is outdated even to them. Right. It's outdated. A lot of the stuff that people like, for instance, the whole House Joint Resolution 192 nonsense about the Federal Reserve notes being worthless paper because the only real money in circulation is, or the only real money is constitutional money according to the legal tender clause, which is gold and silver coin. Come on, man. These are people that have never read House Joint Resolution 192, you know, right. Where it says it switched the standard from a fixed standard, which is gold and silver coin, to an unfixed standard, which is the faith and credit of the American people. But the fact of but here's where it comes down to brass tacks. If your paper debt credit devices of private banking that you call Federal Reserve notes are so worthless, my address is 1503 Burnett Avenue, Syracuse, New York. I will take all the debt off your hands. Send it home.
Right.
Yeah. So back to one of the questions that I had was, they said the free
white persons.
Free white persons. I don't know how they be saying in-law, outlaw, and black person is under the law. Have you ever heard that before?
I've never heard that before.
Does being a free white person change any standing within the law, I would say?
No, not that I'm aware of, and I've represented.
They say
as people, black people,
not black as we relate, that people would assume it to be the complexion, or white as a physical complexion, which is crazy in itself. But nevertheless, They said as a status. If claim,
but you know what, free white
status. Now, sis, I know you shake your head because you go around these professionals every day, and if you say this, they're gonna take your license. So don't you use this stuff. I'm just asking for my people.
Somebody sitting home just making up shit. Like, that's just, come on. Stop.
You know,
I don't. And the worst part of it is these people have never gone to court except for when they standing, as the defendant.
in traffic.
It's not like you've gone, you haven't gone, or traffic, right? You're not going to study how the courts proceed, how procedures are done, and you aren't going to try to learn what the law is. And if you really want to work and try to change the law, you have to work from within. You can't be standing on the outside talking about I'm not involved. Change it. That's not how it works. That's just not how it works. You have to learn. You got to be the spook by the door.
And now, you know what's so beautiful about what the sister just said?
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't believe the sisters are part of the Moorish movement. But
Nope.
isn't that exactly what we say?
And that's what we like, brother.
Isn't that
That's
exactly
what we saying all the time.
Don't we tell these people that nationality determines political status? It does not determine status at law. Your national identity does not determine what laws apply to you and what laws don't.
Correct.
Like, I don't know where they get that from.
I don't know. I mean, if that was the case, then that it would be true for everything about you. It wouldn't just be nationality, it'd be religion, it'd be sex, it'd be sexual orientation. And we don't operate like that.
And sis, and then to let you know, some people that was Moors, some of us Moors, we get self-righteous sometimes. They said the sister using the language that she just cursed, whatever. What the thing is,
I'm not supposed to curse.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I said, I was in the chat, I was saying, man, let the sister flow. Let her do her thing. Let her flow. Let her do her thing. Because what we want is the information. I'm not even tripping off that. But to hear you say exactly what we say, I'm talking about the true Drew Ali Moors. That's what we want. We want the spirit of the truth. Facts. So somebody say, I'm trying to be like a brother on another channel. Really not true. This is who I am. But what I do want is people to know that you're going to learn today. You're going to learn something on this channel. The thing is, I'm asking anybody with any questions. You can call in 443-869-2517. If you want to call in, you can call in, ask the sister something. We don't have nothing to hide. One thing about Moorish World TV, we want everybody to have their say and have their question and have it answered. If we can't answer it. That's just what it is. But you have to be respectful. You have to be respectful, and you don't get all into your passions. We know how some of you brothers and sisters do when you don't get the answer you're looking for. You get a little bit crazy. Stop acting like that. And I'm telling y'all who disagree with the Moorish World TV platform, because I don't agree with the paper plates on the right to travel or the filing all this paperwork, getting all these paper cuts. No, I don't agree with that. That doesn't make you not my brother. That doesn't make you not my sister. That goes for any more. That goes for anybody who subscribe to the term black, Negro, orange, blue. It doesn't matter. You are my brother, my sister. And I love you. I'm just trying to get to the truth.
Talker. Yeah. I just had a message this morning. I just got a message this morning from someone talking about that we were harassing Taj Tariq Bey. And I'm like, we're not harassing Taj Tariq Bey. We're talking about the things that he's teaching, and we're pointing out the things that are incorrect about it. So, you know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with harassing him. But what we're saying, they're taking it personal. They're taking it as if we're personally attacking them. Right. It's insane. But you can take the call.
What's good? Can you hear me? All right, hold on 1 second. Stand by for 1 second, because I got to speak to. They say harassing Taj Tariq Bey. Let me explain something to the family. Man, I found out this week that Taj was over 70 years old. I'm not harassing Taj Tariq Bey. I actually felt bad that we were even questioning the ideology. But we must question the ideal, no matter where it comes from. That's right. No matter if it's young or old. But I felt bad because I grew up where my mother said, go help Miss such and such. Go grab her bags. Go help Mr. such and such. Open that gate. I grew up like that. I don't know about nobody else. So when I heard that the brother and Brother Sharif can attest and Brother Ali can attest, I said, man, I felt bad. Because it did appear like I was coming at Taj. I'm not coming at him as a person. We're only talking about the ideal. And I don't think the ideal is good for our people.
It's not.
I love it.
I agree.
I love that brother. You know, and I don't want anybody to get it twisted. You know, and I apologize to him if I offended him as a person, because that's not my intentions. Moors don't do that, you know, but the ideal is just not good for our people. With that peace and love, and I apologize if I offended my brother, my elder, and he is a master teacher. That doesn't mean I agree with everything he teaches.
That's right.
With that being said, my brother, you in the chat. How you doing, my brother? What's your name? Where you from? What you want to talk about? Talk to me. Worldwide. Okay. All over the world. Yes, sir. So what's going on, brother? Talk to me. We got the sister here ready. She got the cannons locked and loaded. I thought she got big arms, big guns.
Indeed. And I wanna respectfully, you know, because I'm calling in on your platform.
You good, my brother. You good.
Well, let me let you know, I'm directly in association and affiliation with RV Bay Publications.
Praise the Lord, my brother.
You can know that off the rip from the jump, right? And I respect what you just said about apologizing, you know, for coming at the elder Taj Tariq Bey, because as men, women, etc., we are never supposed to disrespect our elders, regardless of what, because we can sit here and talk about who is right, who is wrong, who built what, who didn't, okay? Because when you come at RVK Publications, who has been putting out publications for not even 2 decades, okay? And then we look at the fact that the Moorish Science Temple of America has been around for 100 years.
Right.
There's no way we can make a comparison.
Right.
We could point out the flaws of the MST of A. We could point out the flaws of all of the greats that came before us. But the point is, what are we doing right now?
Absolutely.
I want to say, first and foremost, you know, I respect the fact that you just acknowledged the fact you found out y'all have been coming at an elder. You know what I mean? Forget the ideology.
That's incorrect.
Oh,
that's incorrect. That's incorrect.
But my brothers, yeah, please
let them say that.
That's
incorrect.
Y'all out, and I want to be respectful on this call.
Come on, brother.
Your platform. So let me just say that, you know, for you to acknowledge that, Taharka, and I'm gonna be honest, and this is for the record, I see a different light in you, Taharka Bey, than I do on anybody else who comes on your platform. And this is respectfully said. That includes, I see a different light in you than I see in Ali Bey, than I see in Sharif Bey, than I see in Lord Abba, than I see in any of them. I see something different. Maybe you might be curious. I don't know. But my question is this. Hold on, before you go in.
You good, my brother.
Anything?
Now I want you to actually, my brother, I want you to vent and I want you to get your question out because you are my brother.
Yes.
I don't have to agree with you. And you don't have to agree with me, but we agree that we are brothers. So handle your business, brother. Come on with it.
Thank you. I just want to preface where I'm coming from before I ask this question.
All right.
Because I've sat back and I've been upset since, I'm going to be honest, all of this back and forth stuff, it robbed me of my Thanksgiving. Well, I don't even celebrate Thanksgiving like that because we know that the Holy Quran teaches us that Allah alone is worthy of thanksgiving, praise, etc. But since I've been with my family in my travels since Thanksgiving week, okay, this negative energy has been on all of us. Now, curiosity is respectful. Now, my thing is this, though. We being Moors, Noble Drew Ali laid out 5 principles for all Moorish Americans, whether you're in the temple or not. You know what I mean? And the 5, as you already know, is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And we could emphasize all of those things. But one of the things that I see that I don't feel as though Moors are taking serious, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
The principle of freedom. So I don't know how serious y'all take that freedom. If y'all are Moors in a Morisco mind state where y'all think freedom is precarious to the European, okay? But all that being said, you know, because this, like I see it like this, we're going to defend our elders regardless of what. You know, however y'all want to bring it, we're going to defend our elders. That's the bottom line.
But see, I think that's where we go wrong, brother. Can I?
Let me just finish saying this.
Come on with it.
Because you're going to have all the time in the world to finish saying what you want and slandering or whatever you want to do.
Come on, brother, cut it out.
Let me say this to you, my brethren. Let me say this to you, bro. Because I might not ever talk to you again.
You're going to talk to me again. I'm your brother. You ain't got no choice. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, we ride on that 5-pointed star that's right behind you. And to the left of you, okay, that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, emphasis on freedom. So I say that, and I'm going to leave that there. But my question to the attorney, Ikiesha Shabazz, okay, is why should Aboriginal Moors take your word for anything when you are an officer of these de facto courts who conquer Aboriginal and Indigenous Moors in North America? You work for them. Why should we take your word? How are you credible? That's all my question is. Islam.
All right, Islam, my family. Thank you, my brother. And brother, let me say this before she answers. Brother, I don't take none of this stuff personal, brother. We just trying to get to the truth, you know, and the path that you take to get to it, the path I take to get to it. At some point, we should meet on the top of the pyramid at the truth. But we shouldn't take this thing personal, brother. And I hope that at some point that we can have a conversation like intelligent people, as opposed to calling each other Moriscos and all of this old craziness. Brother, we just need to have a conversation and we need to just get to the truth. You follow me, my brother?
But and I don't know if I'll ever be able to talk to you again. But I got family where you at. I could come to where you're at. But what I'm saying is this. And I ain't no threatening nothing. Just real.
Man, I don't care about that stuff. You know, man, you don't know me, man. I don't care about that, brother. I love you. You can come threatening, you can come in peace. It don't make no difference to me. You know we fear law. That's the good thing about Islamism. We don't fear nothing but Allah. But come on with it, my brother.
All right, so what I'm saying is this to Harker. Y'all, like, you know, it's unfortunate that Moors are not familiar with each other's legacy. But when y'all are sitting here on this platform saying things like, what have the Moors built? Bro, I personally laid cinder blocks with Taj Tariq Bey and building a building, okay?
Where is it located, brother? We want to come visit it.
Let me finish this, because this is real talk.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't call in if I didn't have something to say.
I got you, brother. Come on, brother.
What's going on? All right. So what I'm saying is this. I've laid cinder blocks, okay, to build buildings with Taj Tariq Bey. And the highwaymen, the democracy, Europeans have worked the greenhouse on fire. So when I'm sitting back and I'm listening to you Moors with feathers on, with that honorable red flag with the green 5-pointed star sitting behind you, and you're saying things like, what has Taj Tariq Bey built? What have Moors built? You don't know what. Y'all have no clue.
Okay, brother. I got you, brother. Give us the address, though, so we can all...
I just want to say this. I really just want to say this for the record, bro. And I'm not trying to take over your show.
No, you fine, brother. I can hang up on you. I wouldn't do that, though. Come on, my brother. You good? You good? Brother, you need to get it out. Let's get it out.
Let's get it in. Let's get it out. What I'm saying is that we've done that without, you know, the help or support of the nation, you know, globally. We've built, okay, and y'all been pulling up RV Bay publications. It's an allodial permit or allodial document on there, you know, for building. And that allodial permit came directly out of buildings that we built, okay? cinder blocks we laid foundations on. So y'all might not be privy to that, but what I'm saying is you can't disrespect the legacy of elders, and I respect the fact that you just said you just found out Taj was
absolutely
years old.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna say this, and I respectfully say, you know, I'm pretty sure this conversation will be continued in the future, but I'm going to yield the floor with this question. Why should we trust an attorney who is the officer of a pilgrim court? How is she credible? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to my sister, because I love my sister regardless of what her position in life and society is. But when you're talking to people from the streets that are in the streets, and we know the war that we're in, we know the opposition that's against us, you're working for the same enemy. How can we trust that what you're saying is credible? Whose side are you really on? Are y'all really?
Let me ask you a question. What does credibility look like to you?
This is my very
what makes a person credible?
Left as far as freedom.
Hold on. She want to answer your question. Big brother. Hold 1 second. She asking a question. She said, "What'd you say, sis?"
What makes a person credible to you?
I couldn't understand the question.
What makes a person credible to you?
I would say honesty, sincerity, allegiance to their nation. As far as this topic, political topics, what makes you credible is your allegiance, your sincerity, and your dedication to your nation first, not who's cutting you a check in a de facto or a Roman venue, because we all know that it was the Romans that conquered the Moors. So you working for the Romans.
Okay.
So let me ask you something, because you seem to know so much. I need to understand you. You said honesty, sincerity, allegiance, and dedication.
It says, hold on 1 second, brother. I don't want to get drug out on this one too long. But brother, if you inbox me on Facebook, I don't mind having you on the show and we can talk, as long as we can do it in a respectful manner. Because some of this stuff can be a whole show. You can inbox me on Facebook at Tahaka Bouquet Bay on Facebook. And brother, long as it's respectful, we can have a dialogue. But with that, let's let the sister answer so we can get some more questions in. All right, my brother? Peace and love. So come on, sis.
Okay. First, let me just say this. The information that I share, like I said when I first spoke, I give the information because the information is power. I don't care if you don't take the information. I don't care if you don't trust me. I'm not here to prove anything to anyone. That's not my role, nor is it my job. That's not my burden. I have established myself. I've worked very hard. I grew up in the projects. You want to talk about people from the streets? I'm from the streets. You want to talk about honesty and sincerity? I've been honest, but you don't like my truth. Being sincere, I just spent almost 2 hours talking to y'all for free, right? How many lawyers you know gonna do that? All right? Passionate about my people? Go check my Facebook page. Go check my platform. Check my platform. Okay, Ike Speaks. Go check my platform. And let me just correct you. I work for no one, brother. Nobody cuts Ikiesha Al Shabazz a check. Not one person. I work for myself, meaning that the only people who pay me are the people I actually represent. There is no other income coming in. So trust me, I am not beholden to anyone else, and my allegiance is only to my people. So you can take the information whether you like it or not, or you could leave it, but the information is still going to be true whether you pick it up or not.
Woo! Woo! Breathe again. Breathe again. Now, I just be joking in class. Listen, man, listen. We are all family, man. And we got to understand, man, when we start talking about this Roman de facto government, nevertheless, every time we walk out of our house, we are subject to the laws and rules of society. We can't get away from it, from the most minor or to the major. We are subject to the rules. There's rules. My brother Sharif say all the time, freedom doesn't come without responsibility.
Let me just make this quick point, because I know we're going to be wrapping up soon.
Yes.
Black's Law Dictionary is not any legal authority at all, ever.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
It is not a legal authority. It's not a source. It's not a primary source. It's not a secondary source of legal authority. It is exactly what it purports to be, a dictionary, like Webster's. Like if you want to know what something means, you go look it up. It does not tell you what the law is with respect to anything. It only defines some of the terms. And again, like I said before, sometimes definitions are statutorily specific. And the definitions that apply to that statute won't even be accurate in Black's Law Dictionary. It would only be accurate in the definition section of that statute. So
that's right.
that whole reliance on Black's Law Dictionary as the primary source, wrong. There are primary sources of the law, the Constitution, right? We've got statutes that are enacted by legislative bodies who have the authority via the Constitution. Then we have states that have the authority via the Constitution, and they enact laws that govern their local and municipalities. So we have primary and secondary authority. A secondary authority, let me give you an example, the restatement second of torts. That's a secondary authority where you're not sure about how something plays out. You go to the secondary authority and it gives you a little bit, it expounds a little bit more on the law, the legislative intent, and things of that nature. Okay, but Black's Law Dictionary is not a primary source for anything.
Black's Law's Dictionary is not a primary source.
Hey, bro, I put a
secondary source either.
Put a post up in our group that Moors be talking about enforcing the Constitution, but they're really trying to enforce the Black's Law Dictionary.
But
let me just say this to what the brother was saying. No one was attacking Taj. It's almost like no matter what we say, they're gonna take it as if we're attacking Taj Tariq Bey. So my thing is, the whole time from the initial piece that I wrote, debunking his claims about using the civil rules of procedure inside of a traffic court, he was making a claim about police officers don't have the right to or either he made the claim it's on RV Bay Publications, but I've heard him make the claim on YouTube videos and so forth as well. But it is on RV Bay Publications where they say police officers don't have the right to issue you traffic tickets because the person who's suing you is not supposed to be the person who served you the summons. It's supposed to be somebody like a process server, somebody. And I had made the comment. I said, well, one of my family members is an actual practicing attorney, and what he did was he explained to me that in New Jersey there are rules governing the municipal courts in New Jersey, and you have to go by those rules. You can't use the civil rules of procedure. You got to go by the rules that govern the municipal courts. And so when you look at that, you'll see that under those rules, police officers absolutely can issue you those summons to come to court, and they're not suing you because it's not a civil matter. These are being treated as if they're criminal matters with criminal penalties.
Yeah, they're infractions. They're infractions, either a penal infraction or an ordinance or vehicle and traffic infraction. But the police officers are agents. They act under the color of authority. They are agents for the municipality, so they're acting on that behalf. So of course they have the right to give you a ticket if they observe you violate those rules.
Sister, can we explain this? Because you just used another term that's very, very, that needs to be explained to these people. You said they act under color of authority. The misconception by a lot of these people is that color of authority means semblance or false authority, so they don't have to obey it. Could you explain what color of authority?
No, color of authority is a legal term that just means that the person who is acting has the authority granted to act by another entity.
That's right.
That's all that means.
That's right. That's right.
It's not a you can't translate it literally. It's not that. It's a term of art. That's what I was looking for. It's a term of art.
I got a few questions came into my inbox. If somebody's out there that's in the chat, the trollers, the mic controllers, masters of ceremonies, whoever you are, if you have a case that you have won in the court of law in representation of this doctrine, come on and call in. 443-869-3333. 25:17.
But see, that's not good enough, bro. That's not good enough because a lot of them say they've won cases, but they won't show you. But I'm just trying to say they won't show you their court cases where a judge actually acknowledges the claims that they're making as legitimate claims.
Right, Ali, I've seen that. I've actually seen one case where the judge rejected the argument that the person was a sovereign and not subject to the law, but did realize that their rights had been violated, that they had been compelled to testify in violation of their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. And so the case was reversed on those grounds. So you got to be careful when you're looking at things, because that person might go, look, I beat my case. It got reversed. Yeah, but it didn't get reversed on the proposition that you are a sovereign citizen. That's not what happened. In fact, it was the exact opposite, because the court is recognizing that you are under the jurisdiction of the United States and you are entitled to the right to remain silent. And so as a result, we're going to overturn your conviction because you were forced to testify when you should not have been.
Yeah, right.
I bet you that person is not going to go, I don't want that decision because I'm not under your jurisdiction and the Constitution doesn't apply to me. Right? You don't hear them saying that. So they're like, thanks. They're looking out.
I had to mute my brother Ali because I'm the host of the show, Ali. I love you too, but I'm the host of the show around here. I pay a lot of money to host this. I mean, they pay me. Nobody pay me. No, brother Ali, what I'm saying is, I love to have the conversation. Remember, this is not personal. We want to have a conversation where as though we can examine what is being said, because ultimately we want to teach our people. So if somebody says, and the sister just got to the point where I was going to get to, if somebody says that they have a case that they have won, we can get the case number, we can track it, we can look at it, and we can see. My point is, we want to get facts to the people, something tangible that people can say, wow, this doesn't work, or wow, this does work. I know it don't work. You know it don't work. But what about the people in North Carolina? What about the people with no temple in Florida? What about the people where there's no Moorish Science Temple in these areas, and we got all they got is these productions online? Because that's what they are. They're productions. They're performances. So that's what that was all about. But I got a few questions, and then we can wrap it up. I have a question from my good brother. This is my good brother here. I'm gonna tell you, all my brothers good. I just love Moors. I just love my people. But this brother here, let me get to him real quick. His name is Damon Smith. He's from, if I'm not mistaken, he's from Houston. If I'm not mistaken, this is my man. He's been in contact with me for a minute, you know. But he asked, what about the 26 volumes of the Benedict on Admiralty?
The what? The what?
The Benedict on Admiralty. Like Admiralty. What they say?
What about it? What about it? What about it?
Come back and answer that in a minute.
I don't know what that is, but when I hear Admiralty, then it has to do with international open waters, oceans, and things of that nature. It doesn't have anything to do. In fact, the statute specifically says it does. If you're on land, Admiralty law doesn't apply to you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It says it in the statute. So I don't know what the question is when you say what about it.
I think he'll hit me back.
Okay.
So I have one more question. Is ask her. This is from my good brother Arnel Bay. He said, ask her how we should use religious societies for our betterment. I think he's speaking into the I guess, for the lack of a better source, as the Catholics may do in the Vatican or something like that. How can we use religious societies for our betterment?
Well, I mean, I'm not a fan of religion, period. But I think it's important for us as people to be tolerant. I think what happens oftentimes with us is that whatever religion that we subscribe to, we believe that everyone who doesn't subscribe to that is wrong, is automatically wrong, and therefore they have no value or can't add anything to a particular movement. And I think that's very divisive, right? Because we've got conscious people who don't want to deal with Christians, and Christians who don't want to deal with the Moors, and you know, and so there's nothing but division, but we all have the same oppressor, right? And so if we could just realize that while we have our we may have some differences in our faiths, we all have the same enemy. And so that should be enough for us to put our religious differences to the side so that we can find some collective that we can agree on and advance a movement in a collective way, because we're so disjuncted that it's really difficult for any one particular sect of Black consciousness to move forward.
Well, sis, another brother say, this is my good brother Kanzu. That's my man. Sister,
I like that name.
He say, can you I don't even want to do this. I got to do. I'm the host. I don't want to be. I'll leave you the host. Take this one. Now I'm playing. He said, can you ask her to show her license to practice law? Never seen such a thing. Only BAR membership card. B.A.R membership card. That's what he said.
I have a New York State identification attorney ID. We do not. I don't have. I have a. I don't know if you can see from back here. That is what you get. This degree, the big long one that I'm pointing at. That's the degree you get. It's a scroll when you are admitted to the bar. Here is that's the juris. I'm trying to show. I got a few of them. So hold on. My Juris Doctor is on the wall. I'm trying to get it to. All right, so my Juris Doctor is up there. I don't have my ideas in another room. I'm in my office in the house. So I don't have my ID with me, but I do have an ID that allows me to get into the courts without going through the metal detector.
But what they trying to do, they trying to get you, Kanzu, you know you my man, but she ain't gonna show you one of them papers like Ali Muhammad did with her name misspelled. She ain't gonna do.
Name's not misspelled, believe me. Not on nothing I got. Nothing. Don't make me take it off the wall so I can show you for real. Like I don't have to lie about this. I have actually saved lives in court.
The thing is, you know, a lot of this stuff that people ask, and they can do the research and find. You know, I mean, most lawyers, their credentials can be researched and found. As far as I know, you know.
Right. There's a registry. We have a registry, New York attorney registry. Look up. You could Google it. It'll take you to a link. You put in the attorney you suspect is a lawyer, first name, last name, hit search. It'll tell you what law school they went to, the year they were admitted, what department they're admitted in, and how long when they were admitted.
That's right, sis. Don't leave out before we shut down. Let my brother Kanzu do some homework. You ain't gotta go nowhere. Anything in closing, my brother Sharif, because we're not gonna keep the sister here all night, because we want to get her back over here for my brother T. 412. We gotta get her back in the house. So
oh wait, you know what? I got something.
Yes.
Because somebody was saying something about, you know, every Office of Court Administration, right? So I don't know if you can see that. Every 2 years, biannually, we have to re-register attorney registration. That is what allows us. That's what is our license to practice law. It's not like when you go to the barber school and they give you that little piece of paper that you frame and hang up where you cut hair. It's not that. We don't have one of those licenses like that. So, but listen, it doesn't really matter if you want to play semantics with the whole license and not license. Go to court, walk into the well, tell them that you're not a licensed attorney, and see how far you get.
Sis, let me just so you know the argument or what the sentiment is about this by certain groups of people.
I think I know it well. I've heard it, and I've heard it. You know, I'm over it. I'm just over it.
Right.
I know it. The whole about being a member of the bar, which stands for something it doesn't.
Right. Oh, that's right there, brother Sharif.
British.
Majority of
it's ridiculous.
Appreciating the system. Majority of those in the chat are appreciating the system. So the majority saying that you're overqualified. Great job. This was a powerful show. She got a lot of travel. Islam to Harker. I mean, the overwhelmingly, the support is overwhelming. So let's not
Thank you, fam.
It's always the brothers that may have a problem with what you're saying that may raise the questions. Because so you only had 3 or 4 questions. Right. Majority of everybody, they really appreciate your expertise. But go ahead, Brother Sharif.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I just for the sake of the listeners and for the sister, but she already knows, so I'm preaching to the choir. The argument, which is something we came up with this stuff 20 some odd years ago. That and let me tell you what it was for. It was to jam up the system so that we could proceed without an attorney. That's what it was. So we found ways to get attorneys to walk off. And one of them was that you're not licensed and your admission to the bar is not a license, so you're really not qualified. And then we even went here with it. We said that, oh well, the title Esquire is a title of nobility, so it's against the Constitution, and you're not supposed to have a title of nobility from a foreign nation, and you really have allegiance to the Bar of England. And now that has become like Moorish rhetoric. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Came up with that like 20 some odd years.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that, and it's it wears you down after a while, and you're like, okay, whatever. Right. At the end of the day, I have to be in court tomorrow for a 16-year-old girl on a manslaughter case. So
real stuff.
You know what I mean? Real stuff, like real people, real lives that I have the ability to affect. And so I can't sit here and get caught up in whether or not you think I'm licensed. Ask the dude who beat the murder trial after he confessed. Ask him. Ask him if I'm a licensed attorney. Ask him
about your qualifications.
Ask him. Ask him when he sat in jail for 2 years whether he questioned whether or not I was going to be competent and sincere and honest and have allegiance and dedication. I go to bat for my clients. Sometimes to my own detriment.
Sometimes,
but that's how committed I am. Yeah, sometimes to my own detriment. Because a lot of times, I'm a woman. I'm Black. I'm not supposed to be vocal in court.
But
I'm not supposed to be vocal in America.
Sister,
right?
It's all Sharif Bey fault. Everything happened with Sharif Bey fault. First, he wanna shake things up on April the 10th. I meant to buy me a shirt today, and I'm getting me a shirt. It's going to say, "It's all Sharif Anio Bey fault." Watch my next show. Now, Sharif did the jurisprudence video. It's a video called Jurisprudence 5. Was it, Brother Sharif?
I believe it was 4, part 4.
It was 4. And when he did that video and shut a lot of this stuff down with good common sense, and he combated his own rhetoric from back in the day and made it plain. And now people are really shaking up. But it's all Sharif Anio. It is. But sister, we definitely appreciate you, and I hope we can have you back soon.
Definitely, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for the invite. I had a great time. I appreciate the love.
I had a wonderful time, and I gotta bring you up for my brother T Duck 415. He ain't gonna let me live.
Die. Okay.
So, anything in closing, family? Ali,
I just want to say something real quick, brother. I want to say first, I appreciate the sister coming on. This was not just a breath of fresh air, but it was needed. It was needed. None of us are licensed attorneys. None of us have gone to law school. I'm talking about those on the call.
That's
now
right.
We do have members in the movement that have gone to law school. You know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing. And all I want to say is this: the Moorish movement was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Prophet Noble Drew Ali had an attorney. That's all I got to say. Peace.
Smart man.
Somebody asked me. Let me do this. I'll be remiss if I don't do this because I got to do it for my brother. I think it's Kansu. He said, "What is the website where he can look up attorneys?" I guess would be in New York. In your case.
Yes. I'll tell you. Hold on. I'll give you the exact website because I don't I don't have it on cap, but you could.
I pick type people. So y'all gotta work with me. I pick.
Okay, it's www NY Courts
NY
Courts NYCOURTS.gov.
All right.
And that should take you to the NY Court site, and then you should find a legal professional attorney registration.
So
should be there for you to click.
So,
or I might be looking up the attorney.
So my
Okay,
brother,
let me find attorney lookup. Let me find out.
Too. I think it was Craig. My fault. It was somebody who asked. My fault, Carl. So you know you, my man. My bad. But anybody who interested, man, the sister freely giving. Look, they call me a Google here. I'm gonna find you if I need to. I'm gonna find all type of information. The sister ain't trying to hide nothing. So
I'm definitely not hiding nothing. It's on the New York State Court site. Yeah. If you Google New York attorney lookup, it'll come up.
There you go. Google.
Okay.
Google New York attorney lookup, and it'll come up. And all of those.
And you'll be able.
And all of those.
And spell my name right. It won't come up. If you don't spell my name right, you got to put the name in properly. And for the record, my last name is Al Shabazz. Al-Shabazz.
There you go. There you go. And listen, man. Listen. If y'all don't want the truth, it's okay. It's okay. But if you want the truth, this is the place to be. You ain't got to call me out my name. You ain't got to call the sister out the name, Brother Sharif Ali Bey. Just research the truth. Come back to me and say, brother, I got you. I'll let you on the show and we can have a conversation. It's okay to argue with your wife in your house, your brother in your house, your mother or whatever, but you don't want to kill them.
Right.
You don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right.
We are family. We are the children of one mother. The children of one father, the breast of one mother have given ye suck. That's all of us. We are one family. And with that, I say peace and love. Thanks again, sister. I look forward to the next time we get together. Thanks, everybody. And we're going to do this again. I love y'all, family. And
thank you, fam.
Love me. I got that old school thing. Come here, baby. Peace and love. I'm out.
All right, peace, people.
Peace.